Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Tim and Shipe Show. This is we are a part of the Press Play Podcast Network. Thank you so much for being a part of our show today. And this episode is brought to you by the Loft at Pex Hall. If you've listened to this podcast, you know you've heard us talk about the Loft at Pex Hall all season long. Even though it's a shorter season, we still want to show the Loft at Pex Hall all of our love. They are it is a beautifully renovated venue location where you can have weddings, you can have funerals, you can have baby showers, as Tim mentioned last week, baby showers, wedding showers, marriage showers, whatever kind of shower you want, the Loft at Pex Hall will have it ready for you. They have a list of wonderful caterers that you can use. They have access to a freight elevator where they can bring up everything. It's a third floor overlooking the beautiful town of Circleville, Ohio. Check out the Loft at Pex Hall. You're not going to regret it. But I've seen a lot of people use photographers to go up there and take wonderful pictures, anniversary pictures, wedding pictures, whatever it may be. It's just such a beautiful location. And since it's been restored back to its original glory, it's over 4,000 square feet. So check it out, the Loft at Pex Hall. You're not going to regret it. So just do it. The Loft at Pex Hall. Tim, tell us about Bella Freight.
All right, everyone. If you're worried about inclement weather, you can trust Bella Freight to drop off your wet, slick load safely for you. If you're having a difficult time working that hard load to its destination, Bella Freight can slide in there and offer you some relief in the nick of time. If you find yourself in a sticky situation, Bella Freight can wipe the situation clean with ease and get you where you need to be. So check out Bella Freight on Facebook or online today. And now, on with the show.
Could be up to the offensive line. No, Prince's going to throw for it. Got to get it off. They go for the ball game. Touchdown! Touchdown! Michael Jenkins! Holy Buckeye! Tebow straight ahead into the end zone, and the Gators have put this one on ice.
Hello, and welcome to the Tim and Shipe Show. This is a college football podcast. We're talking a lot about the college football playoff today. Thank you so much for joining us. We are part of the Press Play Podcast Network, and Tim and I are going to be talking everything college football from the playoff selection committee that just happened moments ago to the Michigan game being canceled. There's so much to get to, so much debate to be had, and I am juiced, psyched, whatever you want to call it. It's a pretty sad day, honestly, if you're a Buckeye. It's the first time since 1917 that this game has been played. This game has been played through one world war, a depression, all kinds of other war, Vietnam, Korea, everything. I mean, the Spanish flu. I mean, this game always gets played, and this year, Ohio State fans, Michigan fans, we're not going to have that pleasure, and it's really hard, and it's such a strange time. But Tim, how you living, brother?
Yeah, man. Well, a little bit better shape than you right now, I think, overall. But no, it's unfortunate.
What we have going on here is Ohio State's still in the top four. We're just going to jump right to the selection committee that we just saw come down. Ohio State is still at 4. I'm under the impression that, okay, so here's the way I'm going to take this. We have 3 options coming up here. Option 1, we don't play at all. The committee doesn't change their mind, and they force us to play Iowa rather than in the conference championship. And assuming Iowa beats Wisconsin this week.
Mm-hmm.
So that's option 1, as if nothing were to change at all and everything were to go forward as we see it. Option number 2, the committee flips and says, you know what? It's silly to have a minimum number of games, especially when Indiana and Ohio State already played head-to-head. So the head-to-head has been there, and that should have been in the rules already. And it was a missed opportunity, an oversight by us. And so if there's a head-to-head, then the team that won the head-to-head still goes to the conference championship. We play Northwestern, and then we have a fighter's chance of getting into the college football playoff, depending on how all the other teams perform. So that's option 2. The third option I have is Ohio State is able to play another team in the Big Ten, because the committee already made it pretty clear that you're not able to play any teams outside of your conference. And so if hopefully another team cancels, even though it looks pretty grim for that to happen, then we can play a game, get our 6th game, and then just go to Northwestern. So 2 out of those 3 scenarios have us playing in the conference championship game. Tim, am I missing anything, or do you see any other scenario that could play out here? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I think you pretty much nailed it on the possible scenarios as of right now. Yeah. I have heard some rumors that the conference may choose to move some games around this weekend to make it possible for Ohio State to play. For example, replay that Maryland game they should have had a few weeks ago, and just one of the teams that have no shot in the conference right now would be the odd man out in that scenario, and have Indiana play somebody else, possibly a bunch of different possibilities. But I think right now that the problem is with a lot of these scenarios that makes the Big Ten look desperate in a lot of ways, because at this point, everyone understands the only shot the Big Ten has of being in the playoff is for Ohio State. Right. And I think that there are a lot of arguments that a 5-0 Ohio State team has not played enough games to be compared to even, I would say, Texas A&M, who has one loss, but against, twice as many games. So, I'm not saying that Texas A&M would get in Ohio State, but I think the conversation is a lot more interesting if Ohio State's not in a conference championship. Now, granted, I know you're saying in a lot of these scenarios, Ohio State would play another game during championship week, but does that hold the same weight as it would if it was a conference champion? And I would say no, it wouldn't in that scenario. And so I think it hurts Ohio State's chances unless the conference finds a way to put them into that championship game.
So I don't know if I adamantly disagree, but I do disagree. I think a top 20 win against a team like Iowa will do enough. I mean, when we're looking at conference championships, all you're looking at is a title at this point. I mean, if you were to think, if Northwestern played Iowa tomorrow, who wins?
If Iowa plays who?
Northwestern tomorrow.
Oh, I have no idea. I don't have a lot of respect for either one of those teams. Probably Iowa, but
regardless. But yeah, I would say Iowa. And so right now we're arguing semantics as to championship or quality of opponent. And I think even if you don't get into the conference championship game, you still play a high quality opponent, which is enough to get you in, I guess. And you're also looking at this as, are we picking the best 4 teams or are we picking the most deserving? That's what it's always down to. The best 4 or the most deserving. That's the debate that happens every year with the college football playoff.
Well, the difference is, how do you determine the best team when one team has played 5 games, one team has played 9? How do you decide who the best team is in that situation? I mean, it's not the same comparison as a typical year. And so you take, for example, you look at Ohio State versus Texas A&M. Yes, Texas A&M has 1 loss in the 9 games they will have played. But one of those their 1 loss is to the number 1 team in the country. And they also have beat the number 6 team in the country, at Florida.
Well, you can have that. You can have that opinion all you want. The committee has already come out and say, we look at these teams and we think Ohio State's better. And so Ohio State still sitting at 4, even after they only played 4 games, when Texas A&M has played 8 or 9 or whatever it was at that point, 7. It doesn't really matter. Like, the committee has already said.
Of course it matters.
It matters to you. It doesn't matter to the committee, it seems like. They've already come out and said Ohio State is the better team. We look at these teams and we think Ohio State's a better team. I don't think Texas A&M can play 100 games.
Without missing 3 of their last 4 games, I think that makes a big difference. If Ohio State doesn't play 3 of their last 4 games and Texas A&M continues to win and play well, I think that makes a difference.
I think you're right if Ohio State doesn't put on the shellacking that it did on Michigan State when they lose 20 players and Justin Fields runs for 2, passes for 2, and looks amazing. The committee knows who the trigger man is at Ohio State. They know what they have there. And they're looking at these teams and saying Ohio State is the top 4 team. And so Tim, you would rather have them play a give me win, get into the conference championship and have the title of conference champion rather than just being able to look at these teams and say, yes, Ohio State is a top 4 team. Like, what's the difference between doing that, playing gimme games and just being crowned champion?
Well, I think that's where I disagree with you completely. Is I don't think you can look at Ohio State and just automatically assume they're one of the top 4 teams. Because I said, yes, I'm not assuming. I'm looking at what the committee's saying. The committee has said, yes,
even with just 4 games, they're at the top. I think, like I said, I think Texas A&M could play 100 games, and the committee would still look at Ohio State as a better team.
Right now, right? That's what they've said consistently. It's like we're not saying who's going to be in the playoff. We're saying as of right now. But again, if Ohio State continues to not play games, that's when there's a point where it's like, okay, well, at what point does Texas A&M continue to play? Do they jump Ohio State? And I think that's what you're going to see this weekend. Is if Ohio State doesn't play a game and Texas A&M does, that's going to change their minds. If Texas A&M dominates this weekend, I think they're going to start looking at Ohio State and saying, why does Ohio State dominating a really bad Michigan State team make them better than other teams? Like, that's not a good enough reason.
Okay, so let's play it out like we're the committee. Number one, okay, so I'm a firm believer that whoever loses the Notre Dame Clemson game is out. Nobody wants to see Notre Dame Clemson Volume 3 this season. So I believe that the committee is going to boot Notre Dame, or even if it's a close game, Notre Dame's out if they lose.
More than likely.
Same with Clemson. Clemson's out. Okay, so now we have Alabama, Florida. If Alabama wins, Florida's out. If Florida wins, you're going to see Alabama and Florida both in the playoff.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're fighting for Alabama, Clemson, Florida, and A&M.
I'm not fighting for that. I'm just saying comparison Ohio State. I'm saying, does Ohio State deserve it over an A&M?
Well,
or Cincinnati.
But that's what the committee's up against. Are we going to put 3 SEC teams in here when we have a team that's dominating one conference?
Well, I think they would put Notre Dame and Clemson in that scenario. I really do. Like,
nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see, like, especially teams who've already had their chance this late in the season.
But if Notre Dame loses by a field goal in the conference championship game against a team they already beat once, I don't know if they're going to take them out.
I hear it, but nobody wants to see it, especially in a
I'm not saying people want to see it. I'm saying I don't know if the committee would agree with that.
I think they would. I think they would. That this late in the year, if you can't beat Clemson now, what's to say you're going to beat Clemson or Alabama in the playoff? Like, why would we give you a shot at that when you just had your shot and lost it? It's too late in the season to have a loss against.
I think that's Ohio State's best chance for sure. Is that scenario where, and so I see what you're saying, where like that gives them a chance to be in for sure. But I wouldn't say it's a foregone conclusion. But I also don't see why the committee would reward Ohio State for not playing games.
I don't think you can punish Ohio State for not playing games.
Absolutely you can, because they have to. No. I think at that point you send a message to the Big Ten Conference, like I told you last week. Send a message to the Big Ten Conference. You did this badly. You played this out badly. The Pac-12 played it badly. The Big Ten played it badly, and they're going to be punished for it. The Pac-12 has been garbage anyway. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But you're going to reward the ACC, the SEC for doing things the right way. And I know it's unprecedented. It's not a fair comparison, and I get that. But those two conferences play things the right way.
I think you have a lot of people on the committee who are probably looking at the Big Ten and saying, you know what? We give you guys credit for playing it safe. Like, we look at it and think, yeah, you did it wrong. But there's a whole other, there's a whole other point of view about this, whole other group of people who say, yeah, playing it safe during a year like this is the best. And so we're going to reward you for your courage to play it safe. I don't know. I don't agree with words that are coming out of my mouth.
I haven't heard anybody saying that, though. I think people are saying either go all in or don't play at all. And the fact that they tried to, like, last minute, like, oh, wait, these guys are going to play without us, so I guess we'll jump in, but we'll put all these rules in. And they've had more cancellations than any other conference in college football. So I think that it's backfired big time. Percentage-wise, obviously. They've had a lot less games scheduled.
Yeah, but most teams aren't even reaching the – I don't think even Michigan has. But the hard thing about what's made it tough, like, even though they put – so blah, 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 blah. Anyway, the contact tracing part of what the Big Ten has put in on this has made it difficult. The reason why 3 Ohio State offensive linemen were out was because of contact tracing. If one person gets it, they're in a whole – that's the group they're meeting with, Yeah. And so that whole offensive line, I'm surprised they're all not out. So that's what teams in the Big Ten are up against, is with the contact.
Well, that's not just the Big Ten, though. That's what most of the conferences are using right now, is the contact tracing. So, like, the Gators had this early in the year where they missed they had a couple games rescheduled. They were still able to play their regular schedule, but they had to move around their schedule a little bit to make it work. But the same thing happened to them, where they had players test positive. They ended up with 20 players who weren't eligible to play, ended up being like almost 30 at one point, so they couldn't continue. And so it's the same scenario in most conferences, though. Like,
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but the fact is the Big Ten, you can say what you want about it. Yeah, they were trying to play it safe, but like the bottom line is that don't tell the line, either go in or don't. And they chose to kind of halfway go in last minute with all these unusual rules that make no sense, where you're going to say 21 days for a player, but 14 for a coach who have just as much contact.
Yeah, 10 for a coach. And what I've heard is what I've heard is like the dehydration factor of COVID and all that. Like, coach isn't putting as much effort into the game as what the players are, and so that's why they went 21 days versus. It's all stupid. Okay. I don't agree with any of it.
I mean, regardless, like I don't think you can say, well,
I don't.
Kudos to you, Big Ten. We're going to reward you for trying to play it safe and not working. And like I think you have to kind of send that message too of like, I'm sorry, you didn't even give them enough credit to put them in your own conference championship. Why would we put them in our top 4?
Yeah. There's a reason why the committee said there's not a minimum number of games that you have to play. And they've shown that they're going to go by eye test. And they've already said, yeah, after 4 games, we can see not Florida, Ohio State is better than A&M. Like they said it. And so I am a firm believer that even if Ohio State doesn't play this week, they play Iowa and they beat Iowa, they're going to be in the conference. They're going to be in the playoff.
They will be Iowa, because I don't have any respect for Iowa either. Like I don't think Iowa's that good either. Like I think that's the bottom line is like these games. I don't know what the committee's seeing that I don't. I really don't. I'm trying to be unbiased. I really am. But I don't see Indiana is a good team. I will give you that. Outside of that, what has Ohio State done? What have they done in their minimal amount of games possible that they have played to say we are one of the best teams in college football, other than win?
I don't think you can leave Justin Fields out. One of the best players in college football. Yeah, I mean, and on an undefeated team, and an unprecedented season, you don't leave a player like Justin Fields out. As long as you have Justin Fields under center or in the shotgun or whatever, they have a chance of winning.
What can you say about Trevor Lawrence, though? 1 loss, 2 loss. Ian Book, 1 loss. You're not going to say anything about them?
What do you mean? I think that Trevor Lawrence will be in. Like,
well, I'm saying Ian Book and Trevor Lawrence both. Like, they're both some of the best players in college football. Would you not put them in? Mac Jones, 1 loss. You think? I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like you can play that game with a lot of teams, but somebody has to be out.
Ohio State is undefeated, and I mean, these teams have lost. I don't know. I think undefeated Ohio State gets in. Based on what the committee has shown us already.
Yeah, well, I disagree. I think that the committee is going, if they don't play this weekend, I really don't think they have a great shot. And I don't think they should, honestly. I think if Ohio State only plays, what do they play, 5 games this year?
They'll play 6 in week 8.
Maybe if everyone's healthy and there's no COVID.
Yeah, I mean, they'll move it around a little bit, but as long as Ohio State's healthy, they'll play somebody.
So you're telling me if Ohio State ends up playing Purdue, they deserve to be in the playoff?
Depends on how they win against Purdue. But...
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
No, it
does. That's where I'm like, I don't agree with that. Like, I don't think that if you beat a team that couldn't beat Division II school this year, if they beat them by 60, automatically they get to be in. That's garbage. Then why are we not allowing more Big 12 teams in? Why are we not letting the Pac-12 in with 2-loss Oregon? Like, if that's the case,
well, now we're getting into expanding the playoff thing.
Well, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah,
it's a separate conversation.
Yeah. So that's what we're up against. The top 6 didn't change. Top 7, I don't think, changed. In the committee's eyes, and I think Ohio State made a real big statement by having 3/5 of their offensive line out and winning against Michigan State the way they did. And I don't think that there's a chance that they're left out of the playoff. So, Tim, how'd Florida look over the weekend?
Florida looked fantastic. No, I mean, Florida just they did what they needed to do. They did.
That's the case with every single team this week did exactly what we thought they were going to do. Every single.
Yeah. Well, the bottom line is Florida's defense played really well this weekend. They really did. Against Tennessee, they played well. They gave them some garbage time points when their second teams were in, and they ended up winning 31-19. But it's just a ho-hum, Kyle Trask. I think we're still spoiled with Kyle Trask right now because the guy throws for 433 yards and 4 touchdowns, and people are saying, what's wrong with him? Why didn't he have 5 touchdowns? Why didn't he have 500 yards? This guy is 1 touchdown away from tying the school record for touchdowns in a season. He has 38 touchdowns this year.
Yeah.
Like he's just out of control. Just absolutely amazing this season. And again, like could Florida have been better? Yes, I think they were a little conservative. I think that they're still kind of holding back on some plays that I think we'll see later. And I mean, maybe LSU, maybe the same for Alabama. I don't know. But there's still another gear that I think this team can go into when they need to, and they haven't in the last several games. But the like I said, the defense is getting better as the years goes on. Like just like I had predicted and I had hoped for. Are they where we want them to be? Not quite. Would we have beaten Alabama this weekend? Probably not, honestly. But we have one more game against LSU to prepare.
Yep.
And so I think this is another game where we're going to see them get better and better, and hopefully another stepping stone to the conference championship to be really ready for the Alabama game.
How many touchdowns does Trask have right now? What's the record?
He has 38. 39 is the school record.
39 is the school record? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How many do you think he'll get this year? 40?
I think he will get, realistically, I think he'll probably score 8 more this year.
8 more?
Yeah. So 46.
46? You think he'll be the best quarterback in Florida history with that? I mean, that's
I don't think because it's one season. I mean, we've had obviously Tim Tebow is known for having a career, like a solid 3 seasons as a starter where he still has a lot of records that in the conference that may never be broken, passing and rushing touchdowns, like that sort of thing. Like he just for a total career, I think Tebow was a better player. But for an individual season, especially a season where you're only playing against a conference, Trask is doing something that nobody in the SEC has ever done.
Yeah. Did you see what I was setting you up for? It was almost like you could see through it. Dwayne Haskins threw for 50 touchdowns in his one season. And last year we had the big debate that
but Haskins played the Big Ten. Like, who wouldn't?
Oh, get out of here. Get out of here with that. SEC was not that far ahead of the Big Ten, if at all, those years. That year. Get out of here. You drive me nuts.
He also, how many non-conference games did he play? 3? Against Ohio University, where he used to throw for 6 touchdowns? Like, those games, you can't compare those things now.
That's fair. I'd have to look at the conference as a whole. But you covered it well by saying it's just one season, because that's all Haskins had was one season. So you did well. You did well. I'll give you that.
Thanks.
All right, so let's look at our games this week. Speaking of you doing well, we tied last week. You're still up by 2. So I have just a few weeks here to make up some ground, and it's really, really hard, especially with last week how we split. I mean, so for those of you listening this may be your first time listening, and if it is, thanks. We appreciate you as a listener. So Tim and I have a bet going on. We do our picks against the spread every week. We pick the top games of the week. There could be just one good game, 4, 5, 6. But this week there are 3 big games. But each week we total them up. Tim's up by 2. And if Tim wins throughout the entire year, I have to buy plane ticket to Florida and buy us both Florida tickets to a game next year, because he won last year too. And I was supposed to buy tickets just for him to go to a Florida game. And now if I lose this year, I have to be there with him. If he wins, he has to buy me a jersey, because this would be my first year winning this thing in year 3. Tim's starting to pull away, and with each week I'm getting more and more nervous that I'm going to be taking the family to Florida next year. And I don't really care for the state of Florida. It's a wet, swampy armpit of a state. My brain's not right tonight. All right. Number 9, Georgia is at number 25, Missouri. We have Missouri is getting 13 points. So Georgia's favored by 13 points this week. Tim, who do you have here?
All right. So honestly, I went back and forth in this game quite a bit, just trying to decide how do I feel about it. But ultimately, I have a little more faith in Georgia, and I think they're going to end up winning by 2 touchdowns, just covering the spread.
Yeah, I have Georgia also. Georgia's defense is good. Georgia, it's late in the season. I'm surprised they're ranked as high as they are with 2 losses. Like we said, the CFP loves the SEC, man. So, but I'm going Georgia here as well. And that's honestly because I have no faith in Missouri, ranked 25th. So
Missouri's won 3 games in a row too. That's part of my hesitation as I'm going back and forth, but I just don't believe in Missouri this year.
Yeah. So I'm with you. Georgia by 14. So I'm going with Georgia there as well. I'll go with the next one. 17 North Carolina is at number 10 Miami. Miami's favored by 3.5, and I'll lay those 3.5. So give me Miami on that one. I'm picking a big win here for Miami.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you there. Like I pick Miami for sure, but 3.5. I think I really like King. I think that they have rebounded from that loss to Clemson. They've played pretty well since then. I mean, they just crushed Duke, so I'm definitely taking Miami to win big.
Yeah. LSU at Florida. LSU just got smoked by Bama, so they're got it rough. And then coming back the very next week to have to play Florida. Florida is favored by 23.5. Tim, you're up on this one.
Yeah, Florida at home. However, I do think that LSU is going to score some points in this game. I think they're going to be motivated to try to play well. I think Florida wins this game by 21.
Ooh, I'm taking Florida. You need more faith in your team, man. I think Florida wins by 30.
I'd be okay with that. I wouldn't be upset, but I think that Florida's played pretty conservatively after they get up big, and they have a lot of teams to come back in, like Tennessee last week. So that's why I think it'll be 3 touchdowns. But I'm glad you're taking Florida. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, Florida by 30. Oh, that's a lot of points. Ohio State was favored by 30 against Michigan. I can dream that game would be happening. So here we are. Our top 4. Tim, this is coming down to the final weeks. And so throughout the whole season, I've looked at this as where do I see the end of the year playing out? And the only change I had was the only change really all season was right after week 8 when the College Football Playoff Committee came out with theirs. I had to change some things up based on where they put the Bearcats. I had the Bearcats in my top 4 all season long, had to drop them out because the committee gave them no respect. So my top 4 remain the same, even though a lot would have to happen for this to work out. Not really, maybe not a lot. Ohio State just has to play some games. So I have Clemson 1, Ohio State 2, Florida 3, Bama 4, and Notre Dame and Cincinnati being left out at 5 and 6.
All right. Well, I moved some things around. I dropped Cincinnati out of my top 6 completely because I feel like they had no respect before, and now they haven't played a couple games in a row.
Yeah.
I think they're completely out of consideration. I mean, don't be surprised if they fall behind Coastal Carolina in the total rankings for the committee. So I have Alabama, and obviously mine is current rankings, not projected. So it's Alabama, Notre Dame. I jumped Florida over Ohio State because Ohio State's not playing any games.
But you can't go. They have played a game and they played well. You're looking into the future. You're saying
they're not playing this weekend. They don't get it. They don't get credit for it.
They might play this weekend.
They're not going to play this weekend. So Florida 3, Ohio State 4, Clemson 5, A&M 6.
Tim, you're not even sticking to your own little rule that you had, that it's current. Ohio State just smoked Michigan State, missing 20 players, 5 starters on offense and defense. And you're just seeing your biased hatred for Ohio State just oozing out.
Biased hatred. It's like I would feel this way. I don't care what team in the Big Ten, any team in the Big Ten that was in the same situation, or like any conference. Like I don't care if the SEC was in the same situation. Alabama played 4 games. I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, they're definitely a top 4 team. Like no, like if you beat garbage teams all season long, why would I automatically put you in? I don't understand it. Because especially with Ohio State's record in the playoff. Ohio State's recent record in the playoff has not shown they deserve to be a consideration of the top 4 teams.
See, now you're getting dirty.
No,
last year Ohio
it's not
State,
dirty.
Ohio State
against Clemson.
Team. Ohio State was a better team.
You better pray Clemson doesn't get in the playoff.
Why?
Because you don't want to play Clemson again.
I do want to play Clemson again.
Well, you might want to. That team doesn't want to.
Yes, they do. Nobody wants to play Ohio State. Trust me on that. Nobody. Even Alabama is looking at Ohio State like, dang, we do not want to play.
I don't think that's true at all.
On that team, not a single team wants to play Ohio State.
I don't think that's true at all.
I've actually read the boards. I've read the Bama boards, and
the fan boards.
Yeah, and they do not.
I don't care what the fans are saying.
They do not want to play. People.
That's not what players are saying.
Well, obviously the players aren't going to say that. If anybody goes into a game saying, "Yeah, I don't want to play Ohio State. I don't want to play like that. Come on, you've given up on your team, which is what I think Michigan has done this week. By the way, I think they given up on their team. They don't want to play Ohio State.
Well, off topic, but Jim Harbaugh, you see, they're gonna discuss after the season his future.
Yeah, I've heard extensions discussion.
Well, yeah, but have you seen what it costs of a discussion? It's all based on performance and a smaller buyout for the school.
Oh, good for them. Yeah, that's smart.
So it's tricky, but because they're like, we'll give you an extension, but you got to earn your money.
Yeah, ooh, that's tricky. Yeah, I don't think he's back.
No,
he'd be stupid to come back. And honestly, Michigan would be stupid to bring
NFL
him.
rumblings. A lot of NFL rumblings apparently there are like 5 teams who are interested in him.
What?
That's what I've been hearing.
Oh my goodness, the guy's a nutcase.
Yeah, I don't know why he's getting jobs. I don't know why, but people are interested.
Well, so that puts, when we're looking at the coaching carousel going on right now, 3 big names out there. Iowa State, Campbell, Luke Fickell, Urban Meyer. 3 big names in the coaching carousel right now. Urban Meyer, Luke Fickell, and Matt Campbell.
Oh, I thought for sure you were going to say Shane Beamer, who he's off. He's off now. He's off the table. He is now the official coach at South Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
USC?
No, Shane Beamer, the Oklahoma assistant coach, is now officially the South Carolina head coach.
Southern California. South Carolina. Wow. Good for him. Nobody wants to go there, so good for him.
But I guess Frank Beamer will be hanging out, so I guess that's I don't really know what that means. But he was there as assistant coach, I guess, several years ago, and with Spurrier, so that shows you how long it's been.
Yeah.
But he did well as a recruiter there, so I think he's going to turn around the state of South Carolina away from Clemson. Good luck.
I think the best fit of those 3 to Michigan would be Luke Fickell. If you go, because I think a big part of coaching at Michigan is recruiting the state of Ohio. You got to be able to recruit the state of Ohio to win at Michigan, and Luke Fickell could do that. Now, if Luke Fickell wants to do that, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah. No, I agree. The same reason I think Matt Campbell of the 3 would be the best at Texas.
Yeah. Urban Meyer officially turned down the Texas job. That came out a couple days ago.
He did.
Which, there's a lot of reasons to turn that down. But if I am reading between the lines, it seemed like he had they agreed on salary. I mean, they were days into the talks, and it seemed like they agreed on salary, agreed on terms, but I don't think he was able to get his guys to leave Ohio State.
Oh, really?
I think that's what it came down to. He wasn't able to get his coaches to leave Ohio State with the uncertainty of Urban Meyer. Like if he has these health issues, like if they really saw health issues while he was at Ohio State, are they going to want to risk leaving the great job they have at Ohio State to go to with Urban Meyer? I think that's what it came down to, is that he wasn't able to get his guys to go with him. So
it's possible. He's the same situation the last 2 jobs he's had. So it's very possible that may be a consideration.
Yeah. So that's me trying to read between the lines. Obviously no official word had come out. It was just his health issues as to why he turned the job down. But sure. I don't think that was it. I think he wasn't able to get his guys. So I think Urban Meyer may officially be done coaching. I think if you don't take this Texas job, there's not a job in the country that you would take. Maybe Notre Dame if it comes available, but Brian Kelly's got his guys at number 2 right now, winning over the number 1 team in Clemson weeks ago. So I don't think that job's opening up anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't see any reason why at this point the school would make a change and have to pay him more money for a buyout. So I agree. Like I think he's coached his team, has played well enough, he's coached well enough to keep that job for a little bit.
Yep. So here we are, wrapping up the week. Final thoughts on the week is I hope Ohio State can play a big game. That's the thing. I just hope they can play a game. And I would love for them to play in the conference championship, even though I don't think it's necessary, but for the chance to win 4 conference championships in a row, especially after not being able to play Michigan, not being able to get those gold pants. I think it means a lot to the players to be conference championship, hang that banner. It does mean a lot. As far as the College Football Playoff Committee is concerned, Tim and I, we disagree on whether or not playing Iowa is the same as playing Northwestern or just getting the title of conference champion. So there's just a lot hanging in the balance. Hopefully, when we record this episode next week, we're talking Ohio State victory over somebody. Tim, final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me is Florida hosting LSU. We lost a close game to LSU last year, who went to win the national championship. A lot of comparisons between Burrow and Trask. I think that Florida has a lot of motivation to not overlook LSU this week, because I think that's one of the concerns. Is, are they overlooking this going against Alabama next week? But I think Florida's motivated. They have a lot to prove against the LSU team. They don't love each other. They play each other every year. They're in opposite divisions, but they always play each other. And Florida has a lot of reason to not want to get embarrassed this week. And so this is a really good opportunity for them to come out and put Trask in the driver's seat for the Heisman this year. And I can't wait for 7 o'clock Saturday. It's going to be great.
Yeah, and I'm going to have another final thought. Final thought, volume 2, is I really hope that Ohio State leads the Big Ten. I've never thought this. I've always thought the Big Ten was the best. But Kevin Warren is still the commissioner of the Big Ten, I think Ohio State needs to jump ship with Nebraska. And I would love it if they join the SEC, if I'm being honest. Even though that's probably not their landing spot. They're probably more in the Big 12 kind of arena, maybe ACC kind of arena. But I would really like to see them jump into the SEC and have some kind of rival. I just think that'd be fun.
That'd be fun. But I think worst case, the Ohio Valley is hiring. They're looking for some teams. Worst case, they can go jump in there and play. I don't even know who's in that conference. It's the first name I thought of.
Okay, yeah. Sounds good. Anyway, so that's it. Final thoughts for Tim and I, and that is the final segment of our show. Thank you all so much for joining us today. If you enjoyed the show, give us a like, follow, comment on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. We just love doing this podcast, and we just appreciate the heck out of all of our listeners, sponsors, Press Play Podcast Network. We love those guys. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you. We'll catch you next time.
And go Gators.